Hello and welcome to the Path to Better A1C podcast. I am your host, Jenny Pena. I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, a diabetes prevention program lifestyle coach, and creator of the A1C Reset Protocol, which is my own 12-week one-on-one coaching program, helping busy men and women balance their blood sugar, lower their A1C, prevent type 2 diabetes, and regain their focus because that brain fog and lack of energy is closely tied to blood sugar. Today, I have a treat especially to the ladies that are in the perimenopause, menopause stage. And she's going to bring her expertise and bring light as to, okay, what is happening to our bodies when we hit a certain age? Why it's hard for us to lose weight, or why are we feeling the energy swings or even the mood swings? We're going to talk about all of that. And I have Bria here to bring all her expertise. I'm going to let her introduce herself. So, Bria, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm so excited to be here. And I'm always like, when people say I'm in that age range, I'm like, welcome to my box. Welcome to my box of I'm here with you in perimenopause. But I'm really grateful to be here. I love the content that you create and put out into this world. I am a functional diagnostic practitioner, which I think is just a fancy way really of saying like if you go to your doctor and your doctor says you're fine, but you do not feel fine, you come to someone like me because we are looking deep under the hood as to the actual function and what I almost like to call the energy supply chain into your body. I'm also a personal trainer and holistic health coach, and that's really where I began. I've been in like women's health and fitness and nutrition. Well, I'm almost 45 since I was 27, so for a while, and I thought I had everything kind of figured out, right? I'm like, oh, I can teach women how to work out and how to eat better, and I don't have everything figured out, but I have this figured out. And then around 37, that changed. I changed nothing, but everything started to shift in my body. A lot of common things that we hear from women. Like I gained what I call undeserved weight gain, about 15 to 20 pounds of undeserved, meaning I changed nothing. And that's what happened. I started to have funkier periods. I had a lot of anxiety for the first time in my life. I had this weird little eye twitch that kind of happened and wouldn't stop happening. And I said some digestive issues and skin issues, but then I stopped sleeping well. And that was the real kicker for me. I was waking up every night in a sweat from 2 to 4 a.m. So I feel like these are some pretty like any woman listening in my box can probably, recognize themselves in one of those symptoms. It took till that point, of course, for me to go to my healthcare practitioner because I had tried all of the things. I'm like, well, I will wake up earlier and push into a harder workout. I will, eat less. I will tighten up, my diet. I will, try all these funky, crazy, like butter in my coffee things. Like I will do all of these things. And yet nothing was working. So I went to my doctor and she was really amazing, did all the blood work, asked all the questions. And then she's like, "You're the picture of health." And that was kind of the beginning of a turning point for me where I was like, oh, no. It was a dark moment. I think, as we all have when you're like, if this is how I feel, and I was only 37, if this is how I feel, like, this cannot be the picture of health because I know it's not going to get easier for the next 4 or 5 decades. And I've always had this idea in my mind that I'm gonna live till 100. So I'm like, 37 and this is how I feel? No, not doing it. And I think that's what really pivoted me into functional practice, really understanding like, okay, well, why do I have normal labs if I'm not feeling well? What does optimal actually look like? And it really kind of opened up my eyes to first the $1 trillion gender gap between men and women's health, in medical research. All of these aspects of my body that I didn't understand. And I'd been in the wellness industry with women for like 15 plus years at that point.
Mhm, mhm.
So I didn't know that. How on earth are any other women who aren't in the wellness industry but just have other wonderful passions and careers ever going to figure this out? So it was that journey that kind of brought me to learning to understand my body, learning to understand the whispers of my body, which is where the name the period whisperer comes from. And it's been, a wonderful journey teaching women, teaching myself how to listen to my body and understand this phase of life ever since.
Like, this is amazing. And one thing that resonates, because I know working with people with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, it's one of those things that a lot of people come and say, but I feel nothing. And it is because you are experiencing things, but you are normalizing some of these things. Well, I have a 3 p.m. slump. I need to go get something sweet or get an extra cup of coffee. And they think that that is just how things are.
Mm.
Or the moment that you hit that perimenopause, I can tell you every client that I have that is in that, they will say that they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like clockwork. It becomes like normalizing it and end up believing, well, this is just how it is
Yeah, 100%.
and there is nothing I can do. Brain fog. Other people think, well, I'm just tired. I've been working. It's common, but not
Yeah,
normal.
that distinction, common, not normal. And I also find, and maybe you do too, I'm only really work with women, so I'm gonna talk to the women here for this moment, but I find that women in our generation are exceptional at being high functioning. So they don't even recognize when they are emotionally stressed. It's not until literally the stress in their body it begins to break things down so much that they're uncomfortable. Do they do they recognize the stress that's
Mhm.
happening? And so you're right, there's this normalization aspect, there's these blinders we put on aspect. And, I think women are absolute magic, but this is something that I think we need to start to unwind.
Yeah. Now, if somebody were to come and ask you, okay, maybe the first thing that you realize, oh, if I tweak this habit or if I start doing this, I'm gonna start feeling better. I know for me, typically not skipping breakfast is like one of the things, and switching breakfast for something that is more high protein and fiber and good fats. And we can talk about that. But switching that typically is like the biggest, quickest win that my clients have. Because the moment that they do that, a lot of the cravings, a lot of the energy changes. And they notice it right away. If they need a quick win, that's like the one that I typically go for. So, what is that quick win that you're like, hmm,
I love that, and I also love like, I would align with that as one of the most important quick wins. I kind of like to think of our health foundations or our, like, kindergarten basics, like we all should be doing without thinking, like brushing our teeth, fall into the 4 categories of, rest, nutrition, movement, and stress management or
mhm,
pleasure. Lump those
mhm,
together. So for nutrition, I completely align with you. I think having like to regulate our blood sugar, we have to start our day with the right food and enough of the right food. Like
mhm,
in a healthy body with regulated blood sugar, you should not be hungry more than every 4 to 5 hours, right?
mhm,
You should not be having energy crashes, ups and downs. So and that all starts at breakfast. As you know, I mean, you probably talk about this stuff all the time. So for me, I find I need like at least 30 grams of protein at breakfast. Some people might need more. So along to kind of like add on to this quick tip that you share, I would say you got to be an experimenter with yourself. Like if you feel good at 30, try 40. Maybe you'll feel better, maybe you won't, but at least then you'll know what you kind of
mhm,
and it's like a fun little experiment. So that I would agree with you that that is one. When it comes to nutrition, I feel really strongly and I know it can be challenging for people, but I feel really strongly to look at our nutrition as energy, supply and demand. Um, so is this food providing me energy or is it costing my body more energy than it's providing?
hmm,
So, and when I made that mental shift, it became a lot easier for me to not eat, a lot of processed sugar, a lot of, even gluten, a lot of alcohol, like too much caffeine, all these kind of heavy hitters that we know. When you really think about it, you're like, oh, well, this not only does this not provide me nutritional value, but it actually requires my body to work harder. And I think everyone in perimenopause can agree energy is not in a surplus at this point. So why suck the life out of you that way? Uh, and then probably the other things, I feel really strongly that people should work towards like a proper bedtime routine and getting to bed by 10 at the latest. The hours of 10 until midnight are worth 4 hours of deep sleep. So getting into that kind of routine. And probably another big one I would say is because I come from the fitness industry, I love fitness. I think putting on lean
mhm,
is a really amazing way to protect your hormones, to put like basically suit up with armor for the next several decades. However, if you aren't getting in like 7 to 10,000 steps each day because you have a sedentary job, I'm sorry, you have no business doing fitness yet. We have to do kindergarten basics of movement before we can get into like the gym. So I think for a lot of people, even just like your tip and then and getting to bed earlier and this, just bloody walking can make such a huge difference for people.
Mm,
So
I
you asked,
know.
I gave you multiple and I'm sorry, I have more.
Ah, no, and the thing is that another misconception, and I don't know if you experience that also with like your clients, but it's that is that all or nothing mentality. When they come in, it's like, okay, they want and that's part of my vision and maybe because of my own experience, right? Like it didn't work for me. I tried it. I tried all the extreme diets, low carb, keto, Atkins when it came south, like you name it, like the cabbage soup diet. I'm sorry, I'm probably dating myself, but even that I
The same
tried it.
age.
I tried it all, and the realization is that you don't need this grandiose plan and overhaul everything and being at the gym for 3 hours every day and waking and a lot of people come and it's like, if it's not extreme, it's not effective. And I'm like, no, it's actually the simple, consistent shifts to something I always tell them, can you marry this habit without the option for divorce? Like, can you see yourself doing this for the next 20 years and still enjoying it? The same thing with incorporating exercise and movement. Some people like the gym and they enjoy being with other people, and that's how they like their movement. Others is like, I don't want people to see me sweating. Like, then let's shift. Like maybe you can go solo and go for your walks and your jogs or hiking or biking, whatever it is that you like, or swimming. But find the things that bring you joy, because then the other part that you mentioned that I love is the impact of stress. And I would love for you to share your take on how does that impact hormones? I know for sure, and obviously, like blood sugar is tied to insulin. Insulin is a hormone, but it's just one of a few
Yeah.
that interact and they kind of shift a little bit, especially for us women when we start hitting that age. But what is that impact of stress and hormones and what can women do?
Yeah. I'm going to give you two impacts because I think that it's important to look at it in both ways. First of all, when our ovaries retire, which is what we call menopause, like ovaries are retired, the what is keeping up any sense of estrogen production, progesterone production, testosterone production are our adrenals. So this is also what creates our cortisol, our stress management system. So if the adrenals are tired, if we have been stressed and stressed and stressed, then that transition for the ovaries to retire is going to be way more challenging for you because you're going to go from full to less than nothing, as opposed to like, oh, here's the backup generator kind of kicking in, and maybe it's okay for a little while we tweak things. But the other way, and this is, what I really, I think, like to teach people about perimenopause that, I think where this stress piece comes into play is that everything in our body comes down to energy supply and energy demand, right? We want to have a surplus of energy supply in the body, so more energy supply than demand going out, in order to invest that in life and the things we love, in fitness, in, experiences. But most women are going through life and coming into perimenopause really redlining that balance, and like just barely kind of making it by. And of course, stress is one of the biggest energy demands of a body. It's in the name of survival. When you actually experience the stress, it's like code blue in the hospital, right? Everything has to shut down. So here we are going through life, redlining it. Like imagine you're juggling your balls and okay, I'm just juggling enough balls. And then the ovaries are like, well, it's time for me to start thinking about retiring. This is enter perimenopause, which can last a decade, right? Beginning to happen. So they get a little bajiggity in there in that process. That's another energy demand. So all of a sudden we're redlining it and suddenly like, whoop, now we have this deficit. And this is where I think stress really matters because when we have an energy supply deficit to demand. More energy, not enough energy is coming in to meet the demand. Our brain starts to think, "Oh, body, we need to go into survival mode." Like, you've
Mhm.
suddenly been thrown into the Hunger Games, onto a deserted island, and a lot of us as women think like, "Oh, I'm gaining weight. I better go for a run." But, like, does it make any sense to go for a run on the beach when you have no idea where your food is coming from or you're stuck in survival mode?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know? So when we get into this survival mode, like, our beautiful body is designed to survive. So it's brilliant. And it says, "Okay, first of all, we don't know when we're getting enough energy, so we're going to shut down all non essential personnel, which is our whole reproductive system. We do not need to reproduce to survive." So, this is why I think we're seeing more and more women um, like hit perimenopause earlier and earlier because they're like, well, the adrenals are shot. Like, there's nothing in the tank for their cortisol. We don't have enough stored. So, okay, this is unnecessary. And now all of a sudden we feel like we have absolutely no sex hormones when maybe we have a little, and that's why it's like enough to still have a cycle, but that's very stressful. So there goes our libido, starts our wonky periods, here come our is our brain fog. And then the body's like, "Okay, now what else, like, can I do?" And it starts to conserve. It's like,
Mhm.
"Okay, well, I need to conserve." So it slows that metabolism. It changes our thyroid conversion, which may have already been messed up because of our cortisol.
Yeah.
Suddenly, oh, here comes this weight gain. And we're like, "What? What is happening?" And the less you eat and the more you work out, the more stress you put your body under, and then it just backfires for you.
Was even going to mention that because then initially, and that's another thing that a lot of the clients that I coach, and I mean, I coach clients also that are on their journey to trying to lose weight. I'm in perimenopause. Nothing is happening. I don't know what to do, right? And you keep hearing that. When they go through everything that they tried and they end up exactly in the place that you just described. Then they're trying to do all these high intensity workouts. They're starving themselves. They start getting, and I have if you have been listening to me, you know that I don't love intermittent fasting so much.
I don't either.
So, okay, so Bria's with me. I know some people are very much proponents, and there's I believe in bio individuality, but based on my experience, now it's almost 500 individuals that I have coached in my career. And I can tell you that typically intermittent fasting ends up backfiring more than helping. That's what I'm seeing. So, knowing that a lot of women, right, when they hit the perimenopause and menopause years, they struggle a lot with weight and weight that is sometimes unexplainable. That is like, oh, this is the consistent routine that I have had for years and it's been fine. And all of a sudden, it's spiking up. I know that there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of misconceptions sometimes about GLP-1s. And as a disclosure, I coach individuals that are using GLP-1s for metabolic syndrome for different reasons and also for weight loss. But what is your take on it? And do you feel that it is a right tool? And I stress tool because a lot of people think GLP-1s are like, okay, this magic wand that is going to solve all the problems. And while they're powerful and there is a great function that they do in your body, there are other things. But I would love to get your take on it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you asked that because I certainly appreciate how frustrating it can feel when you are putting the effort in and then the effort is not working. So when it comes to tools like peptides, more specifically like the semaglutides and the
Mhm,
tirzepatides and the GLP-1s as we're talking about them, I really like. I mean, I think of them as a tool, just like hormone replacement therapy is a tool. And the nice thing about both of those tools is they are bioidentical to the tools that we have in our body. Like, we do make these things
mhm,
ourselves, which is
mhm,
really wonderful. And they need to be used like the icing on the cake or like the sprinkles or the cherry on top, because we need to, like, the same thing goes with hormone replacement therapy. Like, if hormone replace if the only reason our body wasn't feeling well is because we were missing hormones or because we were missing GLP, then adding that would fix everything, but that's not what is happening. We always have to make sure that we have kind of this, again, this energy supply and demand back in place in a body, which means that we are aware of like where all of our energy is going out. We're aware of the quality of the energy coming in, right? Like that we are working towards quality sleep, that we are, eating properly for our body, that we are finding joy and pleasure, like you were talking about, because that's
Mhm.
such an underrated source of energy. And oftentimes it's these supply chain pipelines into the body where the problems are. So if you have gut dysbiosis, if you are not metabolizing your hormones down phase one or phase two correctly, if we have a congested liver, if the adrenals are completely taxed, all of these things matter to whether you're even going to be able to get a good benefit from
Mhm.
something like a GLP-1 peptide. I've seen people not have any results. I've also seen
Mhm.
people have really negative results because of the gut dysbiosis.
Yeah.
So the path, I think, so to answer your question kind of bluntly, I think that these are a very powerful and amazing tool. And the path to using them looks like lock in your foundational health pieces, which are a lot of
Mhm.
things we already talked about. Optimize your hormones, which means making sure these pathways are clear. So for me, that's working with like a practitioner like myself who is going to look more deeply at functional lab work, not just conventional lab work. We want to look at that gut microbiome. We want to look at the estrogen metabolization. And then when we have got to that point, should you still need it, that's where we get to go from an 8 to a 10.
Mhm.
So I think that is really one of the ideal situations to be using, a peptide like the semaglutides or the tirzepatide, because you will get the best results out of it. You'll be able to come off of it, which is something I
Mhm.
think a lot of people are concerned about. And if you do not have these foundational pieces in place, and then these great habits, and then you're eating your protein and you're working out, if you come off of that, you are going to gain weight. So if we're doing these foundational pieces, then often you can even get away with just a micro dose, which means we can wean off it very quickly and maintain, if not continue to progress our results on our own.
Mhm. And I mean, that is the one thing that I have to coach a lot of individuals around, that because sometimes I get them after they use the medication, they
Yeah,
lost the weight
yeah,
and they gain it. And that's why, because they did not do all of those foundational habits.
yeah,
They only use the medication, and the medication, and I have a 4-part series. Go
yeah,
look for it. Like, it was a couple of months ago. I went through everything from beginning to end. And what ends up happening is you don't feel hunger, so you don't eat. Now your metabolism slows down. You're not getting the energy that Bria is mentioning. You don't even get those triggers when you take that medication off.
yeah,
It's like, I like to call it like, okay, your communication with your body, you're shutting it down with the medication, so you get to the point that you almost don't ever feel hungry. And then when it comes back, you feel like it's louder. You're like, whoa, like, did I ever experience this?
yeah. It's the
And
misuse of a product, right? When you're, like I always say to my, like, you should have hunger. If
Mhm.
you don't have hunger, it's too much. It's too
Yep.
high of a dose, and you're giving your body more than it can handle, and that's always going to backfire. And I
Mhm.
mean, like Jenny and I know, we know what we want. We want it yesterday. Like I appreciate how quickly we want things done, but if we have to look at like short-term pain for long-term gain, right,
Yep.
as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that it's hard. And I'm like, well, like, and I explain it the same way that we're talking, right? So there's like a lot of value having these conversations is, okay, this is what really is happening in your body. And this is
Yeah,
what's going to happen. And this is why this is a scary, a scary number. 2/3 of individuals that lose the weight, they gain it back
yeah,
using GLP-1s. That's the numbers that are out there. And
yeah,
why is that? When you start digging deep, it's because they just rely on the medication. They didn't focus on fueling their body correctly or seeing, how are you exercising? Are you focusing on sleep?
yeah, yeah,
Right? Are you managing stress? Are you finding joy? Another thing, and I don't know if you would bring some points to it, that I've seen is having to manage all of that, especially weight loss and all of these health things and the changes. It can alienate you, and then before you know it, you find people almost like resenting the journey.
mm,
And having a lack of joy. It's like, yeah, I'm just eating the food, but like, what is this?
When you're on the peptide?
Yes, and that is something that I'm noticing. It's like, okay, like now they don't even have that craving, right?
Yeah.
So they're eating almost as a task. So
Yeah.
that joy component, that enjoying a good meal and enjoying what you're eating, is kind of gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes even as a coach, I have to say, okay, like, can you find something that truly brings you joy? And it doesn't have to be food related, but are you depriving yourself from joy? And that can actually end up impacting your stress level. So I don't know if that's something that you have seen with your clients, but
Yeah, I think that's really, I think, we have to understand that like weight loss is a byproduct of this medication. So, yes, the semaglutide, really its whole focus is that slowing that gastric emptying.
hmm
But
hmm
as we get into the tirzepatides, as we get into the other, like they also have a mechanism that really works on that arousal pathway of our brain, kind of
hmm
quieting that. That's where a lot of the food noise kind of goes away. And where they've even seen in research, it's been helpful for like addiction, people trying to come off because it works on that arousal pathway.
hmm
But the real value of the medication is in helping with reducing inflammation, helping with insulin sensitivity. That's the
hmm
metabolic repair, and that happens at a much lower dose than
hmm
we need. So I think what you've pointed out, Jenny, that I completely agree with is if you are finding yourself lackluster, it's probably too much,
hmm
right? Again, like we should still. Well, I have 6 or 7 clients that I could probably talk about, but I have one in particular who, she was always like, we'd done all of the work, we'd done the gut work, we'd done the adrenal work, we'd done the thyroid work, we had done it all, and she was feeling good, but she just could not lose this weight, and we could see her A1C was up. We could see like it was a glucose, insulin, and even a bit of inflammation issue.
hmm
So when we did just a microdose, and actually we started at half of a microdose of tirzepatide for her, and she's just like, oh my gosh, I'm actually eating the same amount, like I have hunger, but I have energy all day long. And then she lost the weight, she sleeps better. So like there's some beautiful positives. That's how this medication should make you feel. If that is not your situation, it's time to look under the hood and
hmm
likely reduce that medication.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And not fully rely on it and be so panicked. I had some people that is like, okay, there's something with insurance. You survive until now without it. You'll be okay. Give yourself some credit. You've been working, you've been fueling your body the right way. The medication helps, but okay, like have confidence that things are gonna be okay. It's amazing, like all the different changes. Now, being that said, I would love for you to share, and I like to bring these very random questions because I love for my guests to be known not just solely as an expert on an area, but also as a person so that my people in the audience can get to know Bria, the person, Bria and the mom, wife, family member. So, what is your morning routine, Bria?
Ah, I love my morning routine. Okay, I will be super specific because I feel like it's the same every day anyway. So I normally wake up around 5:30. I go to bed at 9:30. So there's my 8 hours. After I brush my teeth, I go into my kitchen and I take my minerals. I'm a big fan of beam minerals. They're my absolute favorite. So I'll shoot my beam minerals and then I'll make some greens with creatine in it, and I drink that when I like feed the animals and unload the dishwasher, and then I go for a walk. I take my dog for a good 40-minute walk, kind of as the sun is rising. And then I come back and I will usually have like a small breakfast, like a pre-workout breakfast and a coffee at that point in time. I put a lot of cream in my coffee because I just think it tastes better that way. And then I hit the mat. Now that could be a yoga workout or that could be a weight training workout. It really depends on how my body feels, but I usually alternate those. And then I take my kids to school and I come home and shower and have a real breakfast and go to work.
Okay, awesome, awesome. That sounds so relaxing. I love it. Okay,
Mineral greens, big one. Those are my favorites.
wow. Okay, now what is your guilty pleasure? Something that you probably are like, "Oh, this may not fill my energy tank, but it fills my joy tank a little bit." What would that be?
My guilty pleasure is a game on my phone called Fishdom. It's like a Candy Crush, but with fish. It's like a puzzle and you win, and it totally hits on all those dopamine things. And sometimes when I just want to mentally check out, it is like my favorite thing to do.
Oh my God, that was awesome. So, if you were not doing the work that you were doing now, what would you think you'd be doing as a career?
That's really hard. I don't know. I mean, I will tell you, I love working with people. I think it would have to be something outside because the only thing I don't love about what I do is that I feel like I spend so much time in front of a screen. So I think it would just be something out in nature, or maybe I'd be like a witch doctor somewhere in Costa Rica.
Very holistic, very out
Yeah,
there.
very
Okay.
holistic. Have my garden.
And the last question before you then share how people can connect with you, and everything is going to be in the description. But I have a lot of male in the audience.
Mhm.
So, for the men out there that probably are with a wife that are in perimenopause or menopause, what would be a couple of tips that you can give them so that they can support their
Mm,
wife
thank
through
you.
this transition? Because it can be tough. I know I can hear a lot about the moods. What happened to my wife? I don't understand. Why is she changing so much? What can I do? It's stressing me out.
Yeah.
You
And
hear a lot of these things. So what would be something that you think, okay, like try to approach it this way and maybe you'll support her better or understand her better?
yeah, I mean, I think when men understand that like literally we're going through a reverse puberty, like when you think about what puberty does to a human being, like now we're a reverse puberty, so it's almost unfair. It can absolutely feel like your partner is changing, and there is a lot that can be done about it. So I think number one, I would educate yourself a little. I would pick up a menopause book, or I would learn about the hormones to be supportive. I know when I had babies, like nobody else was reading the pregnancy books but me, and the baby books but me, and that is not doesn't feel very supportive. So
Mhm.
if you one gather that information so that if your wife comes to you as like, hey, I want to do some deeper testing, or hey, I want to go on hormone replacement therapy or some peptides, that you can help be a part of encouraging that decision for her. And the other thing is take stuff off her plate. Like her body is running an additional marathon every single day right now that you're not running. So, I think in a good relationship, sometimes we do 100, sometimes we do 80, and the other person covers us. This is a time for you to step up and cover. So, make the dinner, get the groceries, tell her to take a night off, like give her a break.
Okay, awesome. These are great tips. Okay, so please share how people can connect with you. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
like, I know a lot of my audience are going to be like, okay, like, this is amazing. But yes,
That's
please share how they can get in touch with you. How can they find you and maybe send you messages if they have any questions or want to work with you? Please share.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I do run a podcast on my own that Jenny's going to be on as well, which is exciting, called the Period Whisperer Podcast, anywhere you like to watch or listen to your podcasts. So that's a great way to get more information around perimenopause. I like to hang out on Instagram at Bria underscore period underscore whisperer. And I do have, kind of my flagship course called Make Nutrition Easy in Perimenopause, which I think is a good starting point for so many people as a course. And I'd love to offer you 50% off with the code Jenny. So just send me a message on Instagram. I will give you that code, and you can check out that course and see if it's something that's going to help you make your life easier.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one last thing. If you ignored the entire podcast because kids were in the background or grandchildren were in the background, and this is the only minute that you're paying attention, share one takeaway. If there's like one thing out of all the conversation we had, if there's one thing that you want the audience to leave with, what would that be?
It's likely not perimenopause causing your problems. It's health debt. And perimenopause has become the straw that breaks the camel's back, which means you can do so much about this for yourself. So look at your body, stop making it harder for her to survive.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Bria. Such an honor to have you. I appreciate you coming, taking the time to bring all your knowledge, expertise, and thank you so much for the discount. So, okay, let's grab it, take advantage of it. As always, every Friday, you're going to have a brand new podcast going into energy, brain fog, A1C levels, blood sugar, and overall health and wellness in a way that is practical, in a way that is sustainable, and trying to simplify a lot of the sciencey jargon that is out there, but just finding practical steps, things that you can actually do and that you're going to see results. So have an amazing rest of your week. And until the next one, bye.